So as Donald Trump awaits a likely indictment for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results, the former president was hit with 3 new charges yesterday in the separate Mar-a-Lago documents case. NBC News senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Haake has the latest.
Today, former President Trump is facing 3 more criminal charges related to his handling of highly classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, made public in a new indictment filed by the special counsel Thursday. It charges Mr. Trump with 1 additional count of willful retention of national defense information and 2 additional counts of obstruction. It also adds a new 3rd defendant, Mar-a-Lago property manager Carlos de Oliveira. Mar-a-Lago surveillance video key to the new charges. Prosecutors say when Mr. Trump heard of the government's request for classified material from Mar-a-Lago, he said, quote, "I don't want anybody looking through my boxes. And isn't it better if there are no documents?" The government says the boxes were later moved. After the FBI search of the property, the government demanded surveillance video. The next day, prosecutors say the former president called his property manager and spoke for 24 minutes. 2 days later, according to the indictment, de Oliveira and Nauta, quote, went to look at surveillance video in a security booth and walked through a tunnel with flashlights pointing out surveillance cameras. A few days after that, de Oliveira met with a security employee in an audio closet, telling him that, quote, the boss wanted the server deleted. According to the indictment, the employee responded that he, quote, would not know how to do that, and that he did not believe he would have the rights to do that. The indictment, which outlines various meetings between de Oliveira and Nauta in the bushes around Mar-a-Lago, does not say whether they were able to delete any video. A lawyer for de Oliveira had no comment.
They want to take away my freedom.
Mr. Trump, in an interview with Fox News Digital overnight, called the charges, quote, ridiculous, and said he was facing harassment. He has already pleaded not guilty to 37 federal felony charges in the classified documents case brought by the special counsel in June.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
Garrett Haake reporting for us there. So, Danny Cevallos, I'll begin with you on this indictment here. What it tells you about where this case is headed, how the date of the trial starting may be pushed back because of it. Were you surprised to see this new superseding indictment yesterday?
I think everyone was surprised. Not only were we surprised by a superseding indictment, we were surprised at the case. We were all, I think, waiting for an indictment related to the January 6th investigation. I think that's what folks were prepared for. And so I think a lot of us were surprised that this indictment, when it came, was just a superseding indictment coming not out of D.C., but out of Florida in the already existing documents case. You ask about timing. I've been saying for weeks now that even though the judge in the documents case set the trial for May of next year instead of the December date that the government wanted, even that May date was unlikely to go forward. Not because I have any specialized knowledge, but I know that in cases, just normal run-of-the-mill cases, things happen, complications come up, and dates have to get moved. This is a case involving complex documents, highly sensitive documents, and the most consequential criminal defendant in the history of federal criminal law. So, given all of that, high likelihood that something would happen, even if I didn't know what, that would extend this trial date out even further. And now that something, at least one of those somethings, has already happened. And we're really only just over a month after the first initial indictment. Now we have the superseding indictment. And the addition of a new defendant and new charges almost ensures that that May trial date will get pushed out. The government may argue that that's not necessary, and I've seen that in cases, some of my own cases, where the facts are essentially the same. The judge will say, well, look, there isn't that much new here. We can keep the trial date. But that's not the situation here. You have a new defendant. You have new allegations, new charges. In all likelihood, this May date is getting pushed out.
And so, David Rohde, if you look at this new superseding indictment, the one that we just got yesterday, it's very specific in its timeline, and it lays out a case and makes the allegation that Donald Trump saw the subpoena, knew that the feds at the FBI was going to come and get the boxes because Donald Trump and his team had not given them back, and begins a series of events, according to the indictment. These are allegations that he started to instruct his underlings, the people that worked for him, including the property manager, Mr. de Oliveira, and also the IT guy, to go find these boxes, move them, instructed them, as they called him, the boss. The boss wants us to delete the server that contained the video footage of what had been happening over the last weeks, months at Mar-a-Lago. It's kind of an extraordinary story if you just read through the indictment.
It is, and in legal terms, my sense is that this very much strengthens the government's case in terms of Donald Trump obstructing justice, that he tried to obstruct this investigation, trying to destroy evidence. And it's very important. A senior Justice Department official I spoke to recently said it's very important to tell, Danny would agree with this, to always have a story to tell the jury. So this shows that he, had a motive possibly, or goes towards his motive, that he was covering up his actions, the movement of the boxes. So I think if this works well in court, if there are witnesses that back up this account that are credible, it's a big step forward for the prosecution.
And Gene Robinson, in terms of an alleged cover-up here, Ken Dilanian was on a couple of hours ago with us and said effectively that this makes Watergate look quaint compared to what Richard Nixon did. When you look at just the chapter and verse of the story that is told inside this new indictment about what the former president is alleged to have done, to send out people who work at his beach club, who work at his estate, to literally delete the server, according to the allegations in the indictment.
Yeah, it makes Watergate look quaint and yet surprisingly sophisticated. I mean, this is so dumb and crude. It's like it's a good thing Donald Trump didn't decide that he wanted to become a mafia boss. He wouldn't have lasted very long at that. He's not very good at this cover-up thing. He does it all out in the open. He uses, he gives orders to these low-level employees. It's fairly clear, you don't have to really read between the lines, that employee number 4 decided he or she wanted no part of this scheme, and probably is cooperating with the feds. It's just crazy. They say it's always the cover-up and never the crime. We should remember that the crime is pretty bad. The crime of keeping our most precious secrets in the bathroom and the ballroom at his sort of louche Palm Beach club, but the cover-up really is just gobsmackingly dumb. The day after you're told that they're coming after this footage and they want it, and you try to have it erased. So much erasing, you'll be tired of all the erasing, Willie. So much erasing.